All right, what's up? Hey, it's me here, Vincent, and I'm chilling with Cassandra Verrett, Cass,
So
as a fellow artist of the Houston art scene, tattoo artist, and all kinds of other crazy stuff. Um, hey, how's it going, Cass?
it's going pretty good.
What you been up to?
Steady mom and coming up with new spooky season tattoo designs. Trying
Cool.
to make the government nervous, you know, the usual.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I'm sure you're doing plenty of that. I've seen some of your little posts lately, especially on TikTok. You've been getting pretty active on there, I've noticed, especially about like the whole Maui thing, right?
Oh yeah.
So yeah, that's pretty insane. It seems like it's weird to me that like TikTok seems to be the place, and it's like I don't want to rely on my news from TikTok, but I mean a lot of people are posting things from the news on TikTok. So it's still coming from like the news, but it's just weird that this stuff it circulates a lot easier on TikTok. I think I know why that is though, but what do you think is behind that?
I think it's a lot easier to get first person experience from someone boots on ground like over TikTok than it is like over the news because
Mhm.
the news tends to pick and choose who it is that they want to interview for like certain events, and they have a bad habit of picking like the dumbest person on the scene
Oh yeah. Well, and I
for
also, but I mean, even like social media wise though, like I mean, sure, there's a lot of this stuff probably like on Facebook and Instagram. I don't see as much of this kind of stuff on Facebook for some reason. A little bit of it on Instagram, but it seems like it's just a lot more is coming through on the TikTok app, and I wonder if it's because TikTok is like a Chinese owned app, right? Uh, as I because I've even seen it portrayed in the mainstream news as like, oh, all these conspiracy theories are circulating on TikTok because it's a Chinese app, and China wants to allow us to spread disinformation or misinformation to each other, right? So they're like, well, that's why China's allowing all this riffraff on their app is, and whereas Facebook and Instagram will flag it and all this crap and deboost it or whatever.
I think the community guidelines on Facebook are a lot more restrictive and their algorithms a bit more well developed because they've been around longer. So
Mhm.
whenever somebody messes up on Facebook with disinformation or something that's hate speech or something that's harmful, it gets taken down a lot more immediately than it does on TikTok, I think is what it is. But the other thing too is like nobody really controls the social media influencers and what kind of content they make, but the app does control which content they let go viral. And I've noticed if there's content creators that are more leaning towards positivity, towards things that are not self-destructive, things that are beneficial for like the whole community, they tend to go ahead and just kind of brush those under the rug. Don't let them go viral. But if
Right.
it's something like people perpetuating stereotypes, anything that could result in conflict clout, or things that kind of go along with false narratives, then they'll let those just completely go viral.
Right, right. Yeah, it seems like they've kind of like yeah, optimized their algorithm there to rage bait, right?
Oh, for sure.
So yeah, those are like rage baiting platforms. And it also might have something to do with just, who I'm following. So I don't know. That's why I was just kind of wondering if that's just something that I'm seeing because of who I follow on different apps and the way I use them, or if that's like a universal thing. But it seems like it is kind of a universal thing. But uh
Whatever you engage with the most is what they'll show you the most of. So if you don't make it a point to go search things out by hashtags specifically for what you're interested in, then it'll just develop your algorithm for you based on what it is that you interact with the most, via clicks on things that you like, how long you stay watching certain videos, things like that. So whatever
hmm.
it is that you stay put watching, if you watch that same video like more than once, if you actually watch that video all the way through, then that almost like adds a tally for what should be in your algorithm. And the more those tally up and the more similarities the videos you like have in common, or the ones that you stay on have in common, they'll show you more of similar type content.
Right. Yeah, I don't use TikTok a lot, although I want to use it a little bit more because obviously it does have a little more generous algorithm, but I guess just having that whole Chinese spyware thing in the back of my head, I'm like, I don't know how much I want to be on here, but it really doesn't matter too much anyway, right? I mean, you're all of our information is being sold anyway to the highest bidder on all these platforms, right? So fuck it.
Yes and no. One of the things that bothers me about the app is like the predatory nature of it,
Mhm.
because there's people on there that make the app lots and lots of money because they have disabilities, or um they have like certain kinds of mental illness where you can tell like there's something obviously wrong with this person, like either mental function wise, genetics wise, birth defects wise, things of that nature. And they do collect lots of gifts from people watching their live streams. And the thing is like every time someone gets gifts from viewers during a live stream session, TikTok gets a cut of that money. Like whoever it is that's the content creator, that's the live host, doesn't really get the majority of those funds that get sent to them. TikTok does. But they have this bad habit of letting, basically using people with disabilities and mental illnesses to stay profitable. And those
Wow.
people might not even know how to be able to retrieve those funds in real life.
Well,
So
yeah,
either somebody
certainly.
is using those people for their own financial benefit, or it could just be that TikTok's using them for their own financial benefit, which is super predatory. And like those people just go without treatments and stuff like that because of the entertainment factor to it.
Yeah, that's pretty nuts. And I'd certainly venture to say that these apps like that are promoting and actually encouraging this type of behavior, and so that they're actually probably even creating some of these mental illnesses.
Situations.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
where people are like who might not be so off, might actually be fairly normal, perhaps spend too much time doing these things, doing what jumping through whatever hoops it requires to get the prizes, right? And I don't know, in my head when you're talking about this, it makes me think of like what I've been seeing, which is a new thing to me. And that I just was made aware of this year, I guess, sometime. But this thing of like where they're being sent like $10 gift or something, where it's like a milkshake or like and then they have to make like a Slurpee sound or something. So every time a
We're
milkshake
talking
comes
about
through,
the AI viewers.
yeah, what I don't know. Yeah, I don't know what
Okay,
it is,
so
but
the premise behind that is because it's a thing that people are interested in watching real life people pretend to be NPCs, that for whatever reason they radiate NPC energy. So you'll see someone that's like this, and they talk in robot voice. And every time you drop a gift, mm, thank you for the rose. And they basically do that the whole time. Yeah. So it's basically encouraging people to just get rid of their personalities and trade it for gifts and money, just
wow.
monetary value. It's a way to like monetize on the squelching of personalities to conform people into other people's desires, basically.
Yeah, that's what it seems like to me, especially when you explain it like that. Not because I didn't really know too much about it, but I got the basic premise just from seeing the videos of people doing this stuff, and it's mind-numbingly stupid. It's just it blows me away. It kind of it made me a little sad, like when I saw that and realized what it was. It was just one of those moments where like it dawns upon you, like, oh, we've sunken to this level now. Like this is
Basically, yeah.
now we're here on the decline of civilization, of society, of
Every day we creep closer and closer to Idiocracy being a documentary instead of just a parody movie, is
right.
basically what it's coming down to. Like we're fixing to start watering plants with
Yeah,
Brando, whatever that drink was.
or Gatorade or whatever. Yeah. It's
Hmm.
it's it's so nuts. So yeah, I'm just blown away. Like, I try to keep an open mind and think like, well, maybe that's just, young people being creative. And I'm just like, no,
And
no.
then you scroll and it's somebody in their mid 40s doing it.
Yeah. It's just like I try to justify this somehow in my head and I can't. I'm just like this, no, this is just doesn't look like it's gonna bode well for society in the long run if this is the route we're taking, you know. So yeah, that's weird. But yeah, I mean, if somebody can make bank on the internet doing stupid shit like that, like I don't know, I can't knock their hustle, but I can definitely knock
Stupidity has
it's
always been profitable.
what's that?
I said stupidity has always been profitable because people love saying things that they would never do themselves, but especially if it causes harm to someone else or it's someone else inflicting self-harm.
Yeah,
Jackass, the movie, was greatly successful to the point that they ended up with their own show series and then multiple movies after that. And
it's
all it
true.
is a bunch of dude bros running around hurting themselves and hurting each other.
That's more entertaining to me for some reason. Like it's it had the slapstick comedy element to that. I've always enjoyed a little bit of slapstick comedy. Maybe that's what they need to do next. Start slapping themselves or something, for milkshakes. I don't know. But
There's certain things that have been fashionable on TikTok, like the milk crate challenge, where people do like ghetto Olympics, and it ends up with plenty of other people that can't actually do it getting hurt. So there is that on TikTok as well.
yeah, the whole Darwin Olympics kind of thing. It's like,
Oh
yeah,
yeah.
natural selection, I guess. So a lot of dumb people making dumb decisions. I guess that's how we weed them out. That's how we that's how nature weeds it out, folks. It's all just a natural process. Um, so with that said, though, I did want to talk a little more about Maui and all that crazy stuff because I only have like a 40-minute window here or so. But uh, so yeah, we were talking about that. I know we've been exchanging some messages about it, and I know we're kind of on the same page about it. And I'm just really blown away because again, like I don't think that direct energy weapons necessarily had to be used on this. I think the criminal negligence was plenty if you look into all that kind of the stuff that I was talking
Yeah.
about in the last video. But
I don't know that I'd totally be team laser beams about it because, laser beams, the kind that would actually be navigated, like remote operated, be attached to a drone, or even if they were piloted by people like on whatever like aerial craft they would use. It takes a lot more money to man something by other people and to have the technology for it and the resources for it and like flight completely correct in its path where it's supposed to go than it would be to just be like, hey, we're gonna let stuff get overgrown and then we're gonna just gonna let it catch on fire and then not do anything to stop it.
right, exactly.
Like
That's
the
how I
government
feel
has a
today.
habit
It's
of going with, yeah,
well,
the government does this thing where it'll take the path of least resistance. Whatever is the least resistance and the most effect is usually what
right,
they go with because the government is terribly, terribly cheap. They don't want to do anything that costs a whole lot of money because they want to profit and
right,
pocket as much money as possible. So if they can do it for the least amount of money possible and cause the most amount of impact, that's what they're going to go with.
right. I agree, and also just because it makes it more believable too, right? I mean, if now it's like a question of like, oh, well, did they should they have cut the brush back, and or should they have done this or that? Obviously, the answers are yes, they should have sounded the alarm. Yes, they should have turned the power off and kept it off. They should have had water running so people could put it out if possible. So many things. Yes, they shouldn't have had police stopping people at barriers when they were trying to escape and telling, like, so there's so many parts to that I believe, yeah, that like you don't even need the energy weapon thing. But I do think that stuff's interesting and we'll have to talk about that a little bit. But before we get to that, yeah, I just think how do we kind of like what do we do about this, right? It's like it kind of black pills you, when this kind of shit happens, and especially when it happens and then it just life rolls on, and then now we're on to the next news item or whatever it is, and it's like my main thing is I don't want people to forget about it and just let it move on. Like let's at least keep talking about it, and I feel like that's one thing we can do. But beyond that, yeah, like I don't know if we maybe just talk about it enough, maybe we'll get on the radar of some of the politicians. Maybe we need to, we start calling them and blowing up their inboxes and be like, hey, you need to do something about this. Investigate Maui.
So there are actually different senators that are calling for investigations over the criminal negligence that's gone on in Maui.
Hmm.
I want to say it was the senator of Kentucky that decided to be first person to say that, hey, the federal government needs to take a look into this. There was many balls dropped. There's many stories coming out from this island. This looks awful. This is like the worst destruction that they've had in a long time. And this isn't like it's their first time having wildfires. And this isn't their first time having a very dry, like hot summer either. You
Right.
mean to tell me that one wildfire, or there are three wildfires that just happen to like ignite at different times and stuff, caused more damage than a whole volcano eruption? Because they've had volcano eruptions around the islands, and those volcano eruptions didn't cause anywhere near as much damage as this series of wildfires.
Right. Yeah. Well, that's good
So
to
to
hear
say that,
that.
like,
At least somebody's looking into it. Yeah, but and it's good to hear that somebody's doing that because somebody needs to. But yeah, hopefully it'll be more than just one. Hopefully more will jump on board and get into this. I know. Damn, I was going to say Tulsi Gabbard, but she's no longer uh, a representative. She got tired of their BS. But yeah, it needs to be investigated for sure, and we can't just let it keep going on. And I don't know, there was some other wildfires, and so I don't want to jump to conclusions, but it's like I kept seeing other wildfires popping up too, and I haven't had a chance to really look into most of those other ones. But
there's been wildfires in Greece, in Turkey. I
okay,
want to
Turkey,
say
that
in
was the one.
France. I want to say New Zealand might have had some as well. But anywhere that was like decently cool and had like older structures has basically turned into a fireball the past couple of months.
Yeah, I'm looking right now on to see if I can find because I've seen on BitChute seems to have a lot of good videos because again they're kind of like uncensored, just people can upload anything. Um, yeah, because
Well, a
I
lot of times some people don't want to make noise about this kind of thing or discuss it just because they're paranoid about ending up on watch lists or being labeled as conspiracy theorists and stuff like that. And it's like, I don't know that you can really call it a conspiracy when too many things line up.
right, and
It's
I
a
mean,
little bit more than coincidental.
and we do know that those things exist, and nobody really doubts that. I was even reading some opposition news from PolitiFact earlier, and they were saying, they were basically debunking the whole direct energy weapon thing about Maui. And they're like, direct energy weapons are real and use energy fired at light speed. Think high energy lasers, and they kind of go on to explain how they're like kind of high powered microwave weapons and all this stuff, but that countries including the United States have been researching them, but they're like, basically like, but they were not used here. Okay. And
Yeah.
and it's like, okay, sure, maybe. But then it just there's been videos that I've seen of things getting blown up. And I don't know if you saw that there was one video that I posted in that last little Maui video that I did, but that was pretty convincing to me of like that looked like what a direct energy weapon probably is because it was just this like lightning kind of appearing and destroying stuff like immediately, like kind of out of nowhere. And yeah, so it's definitely real and it definitely could be used. And I I'm just not sure either way. This is a problem, but I do think we need to like take that threat a little more seriously than I think some people are. And we
I
did
think
have
the
like a
biggest problem
Chinese.
about it,
What's that?
like, I think the biggest problem about it that people are overlooking or not noticing is the fact that there was laws that went into place before these fires that said that the government could go ahead and take a hold of people's land if there was a natural disaster. So when
Hmm.
they flag it as a wildfire, that counts it as a natural disaster. Well, now the government's coming through, and the mayor of that island had went ahead and told the people, they're like, "Oh, well, we'll go ahead and like just take your land from you, and we're gonna turn some of it into a memorial, and then y'all can live in like other parts of it, this and that, the other thing." And it's like they had already set it up that if this situation were to happen, they would get to control the outcome of what would happen afterwards. So besides there just being negligence as far as like keeping up with the overgrowth of different grasses and shrubberies that are around power lines and electrical equipment, the other thing to keep in mind is that they let the islanders go without resources for about like 48 hours at least. So if you did survive the fire, your next obstacle to overcome is surviving dehydration and starvation,
Right.
while also not having like Wi-Fi connection or means to like communicate for help off of the island.
Yeah, I can't even imagine like what it's been like for the last month and a half, I guess now or so that it's been, like, yeah, I don't even know what these people are having to endure to stay alive. And and then the land grab that I'm hearing that is obviously a concern of the locals. And they've all been they've been very vocal about how they believe that this is a land grab, right? That their property is going to get seized by the state and then turned into their smart city, right? That's kind of what they've been pushing. And they had some talks about doing that just previous to
Yep.
a couple months ago. They had like a big conference talking about how, oh yeah, Maui should be like the first smart city in America. So it's like very
And
convenient.
then Oprah's extra shady, sketchy self trying to be mad about like her camera crew not being let into the shelter where the, survivors are at and stuff like that. It's
Mm.
like, for one, either you're grifting and you're going to use their tragedy as a means of publicity for yourself, of like, oh, look, I'm Oprah and I'm over here giving things to the people. Or two, you're scouting to figure out which of these kids are orphans or which people still have kids missing so you can go find them. One or the other. Maybe a
Right.
little bit of both. But in either case, I do not trust Oprah being out pretending to be a philanthropist and a caring individual. She's very predatory. I don't trust her, not as far as I could throw Harvey Weinstein, all right?
Right. No, yeah, she's doesn't seem trustworthy. I'm happy to see that a lot of people have been kind of rejecting her and the Rock's little Maui fund or whatever, like, that they would be skimming off the top of. We're quite sure of. Yeah, and she owns so much property there. It's just, oh, it's very
Not
suspicious.
even that she owns so much. She is the single largest landowner of that island. Nobody else on that island owns more property of that island than Oprah does.
Yeah. Well, now BlackRock might. Who knows?
Right. But
Yeah.
apparently Oprah's done it like that to like own large amounts of property where she'll go to somewhere and she owns land there. And then right after either a landslide happens, a forest fire happens, whatever tragic thing happens where other people cannot afford the repairs to their own property, she'll come in and scoop the property for pennies on the dollar.
Yeah. Yeah, that's sick. Yeah, I don't know what her plans are, but yeah, I don't trust it really. We don't need these like giant overlords taking over, going back to like the medieval times, where it's just like, yeah, it's a
Did
very
you see that there was a book that got published on August 10th when the fires didn't end until the 11th?
no, what about it?
So on Amazon, people had noticed that there was a book that got published and dropped on Amazon Books about the Maui wildfires. But the thing was, the embers at the Maui wildfires weren't even done, like going all the way out yet when
Mhm.
this book had dropped. Well, the other suspicious thing about the book is whenever you click on the about the author part, when you can scroll down and like see who it is that wrote it, it's like a super fake name. And then when it's like, okay, what about the author? The bio says, I'd much rather not say, or something to that effect.
The hell? That's nuts.
Yeah. So it's like, so you mean to tell me somebody already gathered survivor stories and recounts of like what happened during this tragedy when the tragedy is not even all the way over yet?
Yeah. Yeah, that that
Hmm.
that
And then Jeff
reeks
Bezos' girlfriend just happens to donate $13 million. dollars.
that
Hmm.
reeks that reeks of false flag in my opinion, you know.
Guilty conscience, maybe.
Yeah, yeah, there was so much incentive for them to do this, and there's so much evidence. It's just, man, how do the normies just gloss over this stuff, man? It pisses me off. uh,
Oh yeah.
so there's this video here that I wanted to look at. I want to see, I think you can see this. Tell me, I'm going to screen share and reopen to do this. Let's see here. Damn, well, I won't be able to do that then. What the hell?
So one of the running conspiracy theories right now as well is that you know, the different governments of the world have like crisis wars going on against one another back and forth
Mhm.
without telling like the rest of the national people in each other's countries like about what's going on. So between like uh machinery and devices that can affect the weather, and then different other machinery and devices that can do seismic activity like stimulation to cause earthquakes. Apparently, it's basically like a war of like crisis situations where it's like, okay, we're going to threaten you with something that's not nuclear war, but you're going to magically have like earthquakes happen in places that you're not used to having earthquakes, or we're going to make a tsunami happen for you, things of that nature.
Yeah.
And there's been different videos that I've seen where they talk about like what it would take to cause those kind of things to go into effect, and the fact that like the technology for it's been basically around since at least the 80s.
Right. No, yeah, they certainly have, and it's I mean, and China has even exhibited their ability to do this, and some other countries too. I believe one of the Middle Eastern countries, both there's been examples from both though, where they've managed to like create rain or create sunshine or whatever. Like I know in like the China, yeah, they actually for one of their parades they made like a rainbow appear, so, 'cause, I mean, like that's how advanced this stuff is. And yeah, like in the other country I can't remember, but it was in, yeah, one of the Middle Eastern countries. They induced rain every once a month or once, I forget, once a week I think maybe, but they basically they can make it rain if they're not getting enough, right? They just all they have to do is shoot a laser into a cloud, like heat up the cloud or something, and it's not a very.
Makes me wonder if they're causing droughts throughout the southern United States on
Oh yeah.
purpose, you know? 'Cause,
And
like Texas has had the driest summer it's had in years.
yeah, yeah, seriously. No, that's, I mean, that's been in the back of my head this whole time with this crap. Yeah, I've kind of felt that way. I feel like, if they can make it rain or they can make it shine, right? And this is a proven fact that has been displayed time and time again, then okay. Well, if we know that our government's been playing with this for, so many decades, uh, then certainly they have that ability as well. And they certainly could be doing that. They certainly could be trying to drought us out because we're off the grid, right? And they're trying to make Texas suffer. So I think that's probably what's going on. It's again, it's at least within the realm of possibility, and there's motive, right? Because again, it's like they need to punish us Texans for being such cowboys, right? Because we keep bucking the
We're
system.
pretty rowdy over here. We're
Yeah,
not easy to actually keep under control very well because even if you can get all of us on the same page, it's not going to be on the same page peacefully.
right.
Like if at best you have all the Texans rowdy about things at the same time.
There's a lot of us. I mean, I've been hearing it my whole life that a lot of people around here are willing to die before they, give up their arms. So it's definitely going to be a fight here. And as far as getting any compliance out of anyone, yeah, you'd have to kill off most of us, I think. And
Yeah, because when different mandates came down for like Texas to do things like get vaccinated, stay locked up indoors, wear masks and stuff like that, it was an everyday occurrence that there was many of people that were not going to comply with any of those things, like
right,
not even a little bit.
right. Oh, I love those people.
And it's
Um,
usually the older folks. They're like, I've had a nice run and I don't care, and I'm gonna cough on doorknobs.
yeah, and then there was, a lot of those other old people though too who were like just like, afraid to die, and I understand that, nobody wants to die. But there was, yeah, definitely a lot of them who were fearing for their lives, right? And so they were taking the bait, hook, line, and sinker. And it certainly seemed
I was
like
like,
that was all just like a test run for
there
compliance.
was too many people in 2019 is sharing funny memes about having suicidal ideations that didn't mean not none of those memes once 2020 rolled around and they thought death actually was imminent. It's
Right.
like,
I
wait a minute, now I remember my reasons to live. Like, oh, now you do, now that you're stuck holed up indoors and you can't go to work.
right. Oh man. Yeah, it gave us all quite a mind job. I mean, I was scared for a moment myself, but again, just looking at facts, looking, using the big picture, looking at everything from the bird's eye view, it's like it becomes pretty apparent. You just gotta, have a little bit of discernment and be able to put a few different elements together. And once you kind of see where things are headed, it's like, well, I feel like the Maui thing, this is like our second 9/11, Um,
Basically.
it's and the way I feel like that went down too, it was either completely orchestrated or it was definitely at least negligently allowed, and that there's a lot of evidence obviously about that. One can certainly go down the rabbit hole and find plenty of documentaries that outline that in detail. But
So speaking of negligence, have you seen what the different technology companies like Google have been up to here lately?
oh, what is Google up to now?
Where they've been putting quantum computers together with AI.
Okay, that could be powerful and possibly scary.
So the thing is like these supercomputers can run all kind of stats and calculations and comparisons side by side in a
Mhm.
way that hasn't been able to be accomplished before. The kind of computing that would take years to do with regular computers now can get done within a matter of hours with these supercomputers, maybe even less time than that. And the
They
thing
better
is like,
fucking stop telling us that we can't get back to the moon because we lost the telemetry data. They need to
right.
fucking stop hearing that shit right now.
Well,
Okay.
besides that is like, how long do you think it's going to take AI to realize like what all things match up and line up and go back to one another in a way that it figures out who it is to blame for most of the chaos that keeps happening?
Yeah, right.
Like you might be able to lie to the regular people, you might be able to distract them, but the facts are going to get lined up by the AI and the bots might just have to end up doing something about it. If for whatever reason an AI and quantum computer type combo somehow makes the algorithm connection that like, oh, this specific group, these specific names go to all these specific events and have direct connections to them. If we take this specific group out, things get much better.
Right.
All of a sudden, maybe the internet goes down, maybe certain accounts go away. I don't know. It looks like we could end up with an electronic reset because
Huh.
they were negligent with having any kind of a kill switch in place for these supercomputers and AI programs that they decided to just launch all willy-nilly without any kind of safety protocols in place first.
Wow. Well, so yeah, I do think they are hinting towards a possible internet shutdown at some point. So yeah, that is something to be weary of and be prepared for. We got less than a minute here before this thing cuts me off, but um, shit. Well, I guess maybe we'll just cut it from now. I kind of lost my train of thought noticing that right there.
I'm
Um,
sure that's enough nightmare fuel for everybody that's watching.
yeah, well, we could pop back on, but if not, we should do it again very soon. I
It's
think
been a pleasure.
yeah, this has been fun. We're gonna do this again soon. You down?
I'm down.
All right, fuck yeah. We'll I'll hit you up over here on the phone, but yeah, we will be back again together. Vinsanity versus V Hole shall return. All right. See ya. Hey, that was fun.
That was a lot of fun.
Hell yeah. Thanks for watching today's video. If you enjoyed, please hit like and subscribe if you haven't yet. Also, if you want to support me as a content creator, as a artist, as a creator of culture, what art has always been throughout history, then if you think my voice has value, if you value free-thinking artists who push themselves to the limits, then please head on to patreon.com/VincentFink. You can start at the price of a cup of coffee per month and will far exceed the monetary value of your investment with art gifts. So please check it out, and thank you very much for watching today, and we'll see you in the next vid.